Russian soldiers are filming as two GBU-39 small-diameter bombs strike their positions nearby. The Estonians gave a very warm welcome to a Russian oil tanker sailing under the flag of Gabon through international waters of the Gulf of Finland en route to the port of Primorsk.
Так вот нас встречают с вертолетами. Требуют бросить якорь.
This is Estonian warship Papa 6732. Your request will be denied. Follow my instructions. Alter your course to 105 immediately. Over.
Yes.
Yes.
To detain the Russian vessel, Estonia deployed an Augusta-Westland AW-139 helicopter, an M-28 Skytruck aircraft, and the patrol boat EML Raju. In response, the Russian military deployed a Su-35S fighter jet to escort the tanker and protect it from Estonian aviation. It is reported that the crew did not comply with the demands and refused to change course. The Jaguar anchored near Gotland Island in the Gulf of Finland, in the eastern part of the Baltic Sea. A Russian soldier who has fled to the west for asylum has described life in an occupied frontline Ukrainian district. He describes children being abducted, wounded soldiers being sent into assaults, corrupt and incompetent officers, and a tank unit relying on film props. Despite opposing the war, 22-year-old web designer Evgeny was rounded up in a mobilization raid on the Moscow metro. He was designated to be a sapper, but received no training. All this time, we were just digging holes. His unit was eventually sent to Ukraine. They were dropped off in a damp forest near Tokmak in Zaporizhzhia region and made their way to the nearby village of Solodka Balka, about 8 kilometers from the front line. The village is a Russian defensive stronghold with substantial trench systems nearby. We didn't know where to get food and water. Somewhere in the forest, they threw out supplies for the motorized riflemen, who took everything. Something was allocated for us there, but we weren't warned about it. We didn't know the radio channel that reported the delivery of water. We went begging for it in the village. We also gave money for gasoline to a local old man so that he would take us for food. We had to change into civilian clothes since we weren't allowed into the city Tokmak without an order. 3 months later, he was sent further to the rear, to the town of Molochansk near Tokmak. It had a pre-war population of about 6,000 and was occupied by the Russians at the start of the full-scale invasion. Evgeny recalls, there were surprisingly many locals, not only elderly people but also school children. The prices are crazy. A push-button phone in a store costs 20,000 rubles, $249, and no one has a job. When the gubernatorial elections were held in occupied Zaporizhzhia, we were assigned to guard the school, and we watched as a girl from the 10th grade got into a car with a soldier from the Ossetian group. It is clear why. In general, everything was gloomy. I knew that somewhere nearby people were being tortured. I knew that children were being taken from Molochansk to Russia, that is, kidnapped, that both locals and ours were ending up in torture basements. Evgeny's account is possibly corroborated by a June 2023 video in which a captured Russian soldier speaks of soldiers from the Chechen Akhmat unit raping children in Molochansk and Tokmak. Evgeny may be confusing Chechens and Ossetians. As has been commonplace along the front, wounded soldiers were sent back into battle without treatment. The Russian soldiers also had no rights. They can do whatever they want with you. A wounded person can easily be sent back to the assault. For example, one returned with a non-working leg, he was sent back to the front, they didn't even remove the shrapnel in the hospital. They treated junior officers the same way. Evgeny says that his commanders were both incompetent and corrupt. For example, our company had a commander. The generals, apparently guided by old maps, ordered a platoon to be sent to mine a forest already occupied by the Ukrainian armed forces. The commander told his superiors that they had gone crazy. He was almost 60, 2 months before compulsory demobilization due to age. They simply removed him, put another commander in place, and the platoon was sent there anyway. No one died by pure chance, only one person was injured, and 8 soldiers who refused to go were assigned to the Storm Z detachment. The situation is surreal. Even more surreal was the fact that his regiment's tank company initially had no tanks. They eventually received armored vehicles donated by the film company Mosfilm, principally 70-year-old T-55s and PT-76. This happened in 2023 but was only reported in November 2024. According to Evgeny, corruption was rife in the army. He says that a soldier could buy his way out of an assault squad for 500,000 rubles, $6,222, nearly half the average yearly wage in Russia. An officer could buy a safe posting in Moscow for $2 million, or 24,900 rubles. The men received little equipment and had to buy much of it themselves. In general, Evgeny had a quiet war, only going on 2 combat missions to destroy a cache of grenades and an unexploded UAV. He was given leave after 8 months and decided to desert. From Minsk in Belarus, he flew to Armenia, went to Georgia, and flew from there to Bosnia, making his way to France in October 2024, where he applied for asylum. However, his parents reported him to the Russian authorities for deserting. Evgeny says, "My mother loves Putin. She made my father go to the police and report me missing. I found out about it from friends. I think my mother acted emotionally. In her system of values, it is acceptable." Evgeny's asylum bid in France was eventually rejected in early 2025. He was deported back to Croatia, where he is currently pursuing legal action, supported by European human rights activists and NGO to enable him to stay. A recent survey by Kyiv International Institute of Sociology, KIIS, reveals that 74% of Ukrainians trust President Zelensky, with trust rising from 69% in March. Support for holding elections post-ceasefire remains low, with 71% opposing them until the war ends. Regional differences exist, with the East showing slightly lower trust. Putin approved the Russian delegation for talks with Ukraine, according to Russian media. 1. Vladimir Medinsky, Putin's aide, appointed head of the delegation. 2. Mikhail Galuzin, Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia. 3. Igor Kostyukov, Chief of the Main Department of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. 4. Alexander Fomin, Deputy Defense Minister of Russia. There are also 4 experts who will take part in the negotiations as well. Medinsky represented Russia during 2022 Istanbul negotiations, when Russia demanded Ukrainian capitulation, drastic reduction of Ukrainian armed forces, and other conditions unacceptable to Ukraine. So it's clear, after he asked for a meeting with Zelensky, Putin chickens out again. And Trump is defending his buddy in Moscow again, showing no signs of humiliation despite the constant lies thrown at him by Putin.
Mr. President, are you disappointed in the level of the delegation that the Russians sent to Turkey? No Putin on this.
I'm not disappointed in anything. Who are you from?
BBC News.
I'm not disappointed. What would I be disappointed? We just took in $4 trillion, and he says, "Are you disappointed about a delegation?" I know nothing about a delegation. I haven't even checked. Look, nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying.
Russian Member of Parliament Slutsky says that Russia might agree to discuss the all-for-all prisoner exchange proposed by President Zelensky, but stressed that Russia intended to try some captured Ukrainian defenders and would not release them.
I won't say anything about Istanbul for now. You will find out everything in the evening. If we really exchange everyone for everyone, that is a question that could be considered. But given the crimes committed, particularly by the Azov members and the like. So we will approach this matter thoughtfully and in detail.
Belarus has deployed military personnel from various armed forces units for training in Russia. The country's Ministry of Defense reported on this. Upon the training course completion, they will become instructors and train military personnel in Belarus. It is noted that the training program was developed with consideration of the modern armed conflict experience. Presumably, this refers to Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. The Belarusians will be trained at the 333rd Combat Training Center, located near Mulino, Nizhny Novgorod region of the Russian Federation. It is reported that future instructors will be trained in firearms, tactical, medical training, and other subjects. This large military training center combines traditional training grounds with modern computer technology. In early March, self-proclaimed President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, announced plans to send military and security officials on a business trip to Russia to learn how to use drones. He gave the relevant instructions to the military leadership during a conversation with the Russian delegation at an exhibition of the latest Russian unmanned aerial systems held in Belarus. Lukashenko asked the Russians to decide on a place where Belarusians could come. On March 14th, a Ukrainian Lyuty drone attacked the territory of the 333rd Training Center, subordinated to the Western Military District. It struck one of the buildings and injured Russian soldiers. The strike damaged the corner part of the main pavilion, which houses interactive firing ranges and simulators for training armored vehicle crews.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.